It is a bit tricky situation after the presentation, reading the history of our region out there. I found Singidunum quite responsible for a long history of taking over of ancient Macedonian ancient history. Well, in substance, I am myself of mixed breed. As a matter of fact, I actually prevail on the Celtic side, although at this point it is very hard for me also to make the difference between what would be Celtic and what would be a presence of or concept of Olympia itself, and presence of actual monarchical family there, that would have been rather very much continuation of what human in substance is and what human was. So you can't, in certain historic time, you can't draw very strong lines between regions that were very much neighboring, and when there is high probability that any of the imperial subjects would have association with some kind of tribunal backgrounds and tribunal origin in substance. Empire was created out of uniting tribes into concept of nation. That is not going to say immediately tribes stopped existing. That is going to say it has been provided certain kind of coordination and organization with the tribes on the field. They would be incorporated within the imperial functioning and within the imperial even management of what become imperial endeavor, in imperial kind of formation, organizational platform based on uniting tribes in larger political, in larger organizational form. So to the extent that I'm hardly discussing tribunal organization, that is, and here promoting imperial protocol as some kind of winning platform when it comes to some kind of ongoing organizational and civilizational development, and development further of principles for living, and so on and so on. I'm not, we don't have time here to go into details of how that was walking to the times. That belongs to history, archaeology, and anyone interested in such subjects obviously can afford today to go and do much more specific examination of such events. Here I certainly need to round up and reach in one mathematical equation the beginning and the end of the equation where we are today, always keeping eyes on where we are today, trying to explain as much as our choices for organization prevail within the development of the imperialism as a runner, as a vehicle for civilizational development. We cannot throw that much tribes on tribunal or tribunal order and tribunal systems somewhere far away from that, from the imperial protocol, because in substance the tribes are consisting the imperial protocol and are drivers within the imperial protocol. Now let's us understand that now. We might discuss here about clarifying today what kind of value systems can prevail and can be justified and can be promoted, and what kind of value systems cannot be promoted. That is basically to what everything sums today. What value systems one can promote. I'm going to notice it was very uncarefully done, reincarnating of some kind of tribunal origins without accepting responsibility for value systems by which they would be living at that rather extremely predatory time. One will need to accept responsibility for calling upon, distance themselves from calling upon such history, And what might be today very much present on some territories of the planet, as it is Africa, for example, as it is Amazonia, South America, as it is Malaysia out there, that would be still drawn in tribunal orders as a matter of some kind of much more normal way of political gathering, and would find themselves very much, or in New Zealand, for example, with Maoris, in Australia with or wherever you have obsolete imperial system, where the tribunal protocols are still very, very vividly presented within the imperial protocols that have stopped, frozen in the time, as in England, and have not moved forward because no one felt responsible for it. And Democratic Party went ahead and talked about independence from England, which means I'm not responsible about anything I leave behind, although I'm very, 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 very willing to build up on that history, on that historic heritage, and whatever else takes, that I can build up my American English-speaking golden standard. Well, certainly has not been attached to Afghanistan. It would have been attached to British monarchy. The golden standard of currency of USA dollar would be directly attached to British monarchy. There is no doubt about it. Now, my question is: would Americans have they done enough to deal with what they have left behind within such obsolete political order? Or they have been waiting for Jesus to come personally to do it for them? Reaching here with my DNA identity, and certainly with the work I'm enclosing, which is Counseling Office of United Nations, I'm reaching somehow monarchy of France as well, within the concept of entire historic heritage of France, within some kind of metaphysical level, which means identity level. When it comes to defining France, I am declaring monarchy of France accordingly active stamp today equally as active stamp under the House of Monarchy of England. That certainly is not going to leave me as a homeless person. I want to point again, unlike they wanted to point out to the graveyard, which is Notre Dame, rather than Versailles in France, I'm pointing out when you have active monarch, then it is Versailles, not Notre Dame. That's for dead people. For living people is Versailles. Equally in England, it would be there for Buckingham Palace. I declare both of stamps active, and as much as I'm reaching Olymp here as well, it would be indicative that a monarchical protocol exists within its own range of characters and performances as a matter of energetic stamp or energetic configuration, or therefore metaphysical approach attached to this. We're talking about certain level of frequencies and identities associated to level of historic heritage. Political functioning, monarchical format. Well, in previous times, the top of political functioning of a nation would have been monarchy. This is very strongly political platform, constitutional, conceptual thinking. It is political platform. When you return it a couple of centuries ago, you find monarchy sitting on that level. Certainly, I'm not going to find myself far away from entire Spain protocol of monarchical houses, as we are talking here about the bloodline that does have reference to France and Spain in the same time, which is English monarchy protocol. Within the roots of my identity are sitting, however, I'm going to say strongly Serbia and Macedonia, with some kind of India backing, which is giving me some much more of a celestial, all let's say, some kind of higher energetic configuration, or a older energetic configuration, which is exists within the level I'm going to recognize it again of metaphysical identity houses. Metaphysical identity houses. Metaphysical identity houses. Which means we are talking about certain energetic and DNA and accordingly energetic configuration, which is reaching the vibes above the monarchical rhetorics, and it is certainly reaching the spiritual formation as well, or the spiritual existence, that is existence within the sphere of spiritual, or today I would call it rather energetic configuration as a matter of mental context. Mental context. Everything somehow comes here about delivering certain kind of identity framework, which would recognize matters within implementation of more developed spiritual consciousness. In other words, ability to walk above the ground when it comes to recognizing various cultural and political configurations. This is political work, accordingly delivers political language and political rhetoric, as it is about regulating societies. Basically, this translates all the way to someone reaching the point of discussing the code of human and human civilization as a matter of not leaving the planet, but basically staying on the planet and very much further going towards the planet rather than away from the planet, as usually that happens with Indian heritage houses. I am taking side towards the planet, not away from the planet. And that is critical momentum for me. When I'm taking the view from the above, as a matter of my normal mental configuration, as a matter of my good morning, as a matter of my normality, as a matter of my normal mental configuration, the way how I normally say things, and then end up being laughed because I'm not tuned within the straight perspective. Yeah, well, that's why people of my kind have chauffeurs. At least we understood that one. And that's why people of my kind live in big houses. At least we understood that one. They were claiming monarchy of Earth, rather, by claiming Olymp. It would be most logical that I choose. It is in my discretion to decide upon which monarchy on more specific ground I'm going to call upon assisting my work. Well, I don't have that much choice, am I? I mean, I can say whatever I want for the matters of entertainment purposes, but there is only one monarchy house active today. And actually immediately provide me assistance as we speak. And that is why I'm calling upon that monarchy now. One will say, well, it would have been calculative. Well, then, well done from their side, one can say. What on earth you have been sleeping on? The rest of you. Well, at the end, someone even pay price for their previous behavior. You have been very proud of your social revolutions. Well, then stay on the set. Accordingly, continue to make barricades. It suits you best, obviously. Taking primary news on television. Still fighting for the working class. Food and bread. and better. This work is not being done by the hungry, but it is for the hungry. The number of hungry always enlarges. But I have never, and I would never call my book differently than how I have called it. In order for one to be in promise, one needs to be in promise. Actually. Today I can connect to the largest network of the most influential people that can actually make a move as I speak. If that does not solve a hunger, I don't know what solves a hunger. I have inherited the biggest infrastructure on the planet when it comes to bringing this level of communication. That counts for something. When I make a call today, it can be heard by the entire planet. That counts for something. And if we have problems to solve, it should be first heard, then understood, and then delivered. We all do our part of the job. You may stay on your barricades, but that is not where my work works, because I need to write the next pages of my book for another day, to attend my throne, my mind perspective, my mind configuration, my God-given mind configuration. I need to attend it. It's there waiting for me each time I wake up. And I need to attend it. As you need to attend your strengths. You're born with that talent. I and my kids need to attend the clouds. Not literally, I just explained. It's mental configuration to which my kids are entitled. They're being born of me. We are playing mega politicking today. My kids do not fit your street affairs. Let's make that perfectly clear. If we are going to solve the problem, we will solve it mega, in a mega way, not on the street. One life matters. Yeah, a couple of millions matter more. I and two of my kids, boy and a girl, are therefore claiming the throne of England for the purpose of continuing this work, because there is no any other castle active available on the planet for in the given circumstances, including the DNA configuration I deliver today. I therefore am going to say again, I and my two kids are claiming, the two kids, boy and a girl, are claiming monarchy of England, the throne of monarchy of England, for the purposes of delivering my work, code of human and human civilization, which has been promoted and used for last 15 years to navigate the present political confusion and threat of third world war or larger political cataclysms. My work is work of peace and orderly living, defending a right of this civilization to continue to develop on the principles of the most standard value systems that we have been developing in our lifetimes within generations and generations of our previous living. I bring under the umbrella French monarchy and certainly reaching to great an extent Spanish monarchy, which means providing this level of political assistance for the planet in dealing with the most acute issues of the present living, therefore providing this level of assistance. It is fair to say, under roof of what houses this assistance has been provided. Starting monarchy of Olymp, ancient Macedonia, monarchy of Serbia / England, monarchy of France, monarchy of Spain, and monarchy of Switzerland. There is no such thing as monarchy of Switzerland. I'm very sure at some point of time there was something like that there as well. I am enclosing these grounds as the one that are assisting today, this reform, assisting humanity to deal with the issues of the present living. We are assisting humanity to deal with the present issues. I have not mentioned Americans because I haven't got anything from them in specifics, but stealing our history within their kind of empowering their presidential positions. And for that purpose, I am not in favor of USA of America as a protocol, because I could have not find a roof for my work. And that means exactly what it means. I could have not find a roof for my work. I can't say how that something like that would stand for higher political arbitrage when they cannot properly deal with this level of political performance. I really don't know which part of my work they didn't like. But obviously, these wild cowboys and tribunals have been having different perception of how they would end our present civilizational cycle. I'm going to find USA of America directly associated with such circles via protocol White House and cut out the top of the pyramid, which perfectly explain why I was having for a longer period of time problem to literally have a privately owned house, still not by myself, but by my son and my husband, as I continue to be not present even as owner of the house in which I live. Living in the house of my son is the closest I can get. Still better than to live in the house of some foreign people that I don't know. However, I'm going to find very rather highly inappropriate that I'm still not owner of a roof above my head while delivering this level of work. All sorts of creatures found for themselves excuses to be owners of the properties on the planet. But I cannot be excused for whatever reasons, probably for the reason of delivering work like this how I dare to define a planet before any one of them to figure out something like that. I will need to certainly understand that. I have understood so many things, so many things, but that one I can't understand. Why I cannot be owner of property? Maybe I was too busy doing this work rather than to make money. I can imagine that's the only explanation, which is returning us USA of America again to the importance of heritage houses, because USA of America, when consciousness of this level awakens, the consciousness of these levels, USA of America will need to have their house available. As much as you have believing in God, USA of America, you still have to believe in everything else related to God, as it is, therefore, our spiritual existence, which I have chosen rather to call reincarnation. And therefore, to notice that there is no such protocol present within the order of USA of America, which rather is godless and ruthless altogether. Godless and ruthless altogether. So your inclination towards calling upon religion equally appears to be godless and ruthless, as you are not truly appreciating reincarnations and spiritual formations. Or should I even go that far to call religion as itself not responding properly to the substance and fabric matter of what religion should be about, and that is our spiritual formations, our spiritual integrities, the laws of our spiritual formation. Monarchy provides that level of ground upon which I can discuss everything, including religion. I can't see how USA today have deserved or earned any upper note on anything really, but I can notice they certainly are not wasting time on daily basis to preach humanity on the account of my work, intensive work, on the account of listening my work intensively for 15 years. I'm going to find such formation of USA of America profoundly unmoral, profoundly lacking any kind of integrity. Entire USA of America lacking profoundly any integrity. Returning to monarchy of any country, in this case scenario, any becomes matter of enclosing certain DNA game, which I clearly, when it is in question, monarchy of England, solidly enclose. In addition to what goes the work I deliver and mind configuration I deliver, monarchy becomes house or protocol upon which I can call, upon which I can land, upon which I can happen, which in case of USA of America would not happen on any ground, on no any ground. Also attempt to create monarchy of America when actually they are based on the same history that is monarchy of England doesn't make any sense. When history of a country is so strongly derived on its headquarters by the history of other countries, of course, we end up talking about monarchies of Europe today rather than monarchy of USA, because reincarnations would not happen at the point of USA protocol, as we are talking about millenniums old energetic configuration of a human. I don't know, maybe Disney will reincarnate somewhere in America, but who would really care about any of it? Who would really care about the reincarnation of Disney, of Walt Disney? Who would care about it? although I really don't know, was he English or was he American? It must be that he was American. Who cares about such kind of reincarnations, really? I mean, what difference is going to make, really? Maybe additional character in the charting of Disneyland? Factory? What reincarnations on earth we can talk of any kind of about, where we can talk about any validation point in the framework called USA of America? What validation point that would be? Reincarnating Washington? Who on earth wants to reincarnate Washington anyway? For purpose of what? Fighting slavery, maybe? I have to say, however, I have become very disappointed of performance of Serbia and Macedonia together. Considering the fact that I'm born of such territories, I'm very disappointed of what kind of support I got from the territories, rather none of support. I'm disappointed by the entire state of their mental configuration, by going in direction of some kind of selfish expectations for defining for very much narrow-minded identity formation without delivering that much of a planetary consciousness, or certainly not speaking about higher awareness of planetary consciousness, when good percentage of the population continue to be very tuned within the everyday life and very much personal level of configuration when it comes to decision making. I could have not find their aura that big. For someone as myself being born on such territory, I ended up wondering on what level I associate with these people. If I was not to be linked to my father and grandfather and find some lineage with Nikola Tesla, it would really be hard for me to understand how on earth I would relate to such territories. But my father and my mother are actually rather the subjects that I understand my own dimension via their presence, not that much via the presence of the rest of the people and how they happen on the ground, which indicates that it is in question still family protocol. And therefore, as I have properly recognized, protocol mixed imperial bloodline, which exceeds that much of a national frameworking and tunes within the imperial protocol itself. And as such, I bring this work accordingly within the most active imperial configuration I can find today, and that is British monarchy, where there is expectation that I can find more higher percentage of mind configuration similar to mind configuration that is tuned within on the levels of planetary affairs. And here it is where everything becomes much more tricky. At that point, still becomes also identity question, but one would say it's a vertical point because it starts from some kind of much more planetary perspective and then land on the earth. So you have to talk about vertical point, because I always need to remind that this is planetary. I deliver planetary perspective. My view is planetary. And if I land on the planet, I have to say I bring some kind of umbrella with me. That's the aura goes with me. So I really need to make clear that when I reincarnate on the ground, that I am to be surrounded by people that can understand my mind configuration and accordingly understand to what kind of game field I belong, to what kind of game field my mind belong, and what kind of assistance I would be expecting. If I can't get that assistance in the homeland because most of the people are not tuned within such energetic formation and configuration, I stand alone. I can't reconnect with the territories because they don't have the protocol that is going to allow me realization and basically affirmation, just realization as a human being. Certainly have been targeted, certainly have been targeted down to at some kind of devaluation point, which of course I can't understand. It's out of question. They're surrounded with such insignificant crew of people. I would accept someone to treat me like that. That's out of question. Out of question. That is how my revolution begins. When I say, well, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm not going to accept to be walked by someone as yourself. To be walked down and over by someone as yourself. That is how my revolution begins today. A revolution in the name of history upon which this earth has been crafted and created in all the political format and all the historic formations that matters in any single aspect of our living today as a planetary identity. Going on territories where people, I can tune with people that certainly bring that level of configuration in the larger number and can speak about planetary issues. At least I find myself on a basin surrounded with higher number of people of my own kind. Well, then conversation becomes easier. Then it becomes a matter of specifics. As I'm certainly plugging here within the order that, as we can hear in news now, there is more and more Canada in the news, highlights the fact that we have in Canada actually very strong royal society, monarchical structure, equally as in USA of America. They would have counties in Canada. Well, that indicates that they would be in service to the monarchy itself, to the protocol monarchy, and in whatever, obviously Buckingham Palace and the politics of Buckingham Palace, and they will be highly influenced by decisions, political decisions and orientations of Buckingham Palace. That is one aspect. The other aspect is that what they get in return of that level of network is that they become part of the system that promotes on very traditional or rather obsolete value criteria, where the power end up to be rather physical, from and would end up somewhere in behavior of some kind of Al Capone-like protocols, completely frozen in time and obsolete. And it is important, therefore, to be understood that if someone aimed to change the headquarters, as English monarchy itself, that it would affect, obviously, there would be chain effect over the territories that would exist within some kind of obsolete definition of power and decision making of the territories. It is very hard to accept today a nations or countries to exist within some kind of network of physical blackmail, extortion, asking for chunk of profit or what people are earning on their territories and so on and so on. What my reincarnated monarchical stamp employed is rather much more a real imperial approach rather than monarchical, which means here nation becomes into perspective rather than monarchy, house or household or private property, personal property of the monarch. It becomes highlighted, becomes a nation itself. Well, in imperial terms, that is very much therefore a regional, national level of power, where we end up talking about citizens and citizenship. And that is the grant one gets. Citizenship rights, right to employment, right to social care, right to Medicare. So what would be previously considered as a status-related umbrella politics become national umbrella politics. Social care, Medicare, it's not anymore status-related, it become nation-related. And status-related benefits get reduced and annulled on the basis of promoting the best of the nation rather than insisting on some kind of family rules. However, it hurts me very much. I have to say, on personal level, it hurts very much when you find your father, for example, from personal income of his private household, end up supporting some other kids rather than yourself. And that is, I found on my skin, that's it playing very, very, very inappropriate. So I certainly have to separate here. That psychology, when continue such psychology of monarchy as a private house and monarch investing private capital, and then the nation continue to be accommodated and continue to expect that now as a nation. So you cannot have it both. If you step up as a nation, then you cannot expect one family and one king or a queen to provide for you from their private rights and private income. Then it becomes government to provide for you employment and promises on whatever level. No, it is very inappropriate to stand as a nation and expect a monarch to provide for you. From their personal income. I would like to also clarify or recognize rather that today the mainstream political events would have been found in split profoundly in two fractions and reflected in two political parties, and there is no third option provided. That is, one political party would be associated to tribunal organization, and the other political party would be associated to monarchical protocol. We don't have third option. My work started exactly out of drive to step up in times like this and to warn that none of these two options are actually promise for our real answers, and would actually fulfill our civil responsibility to be in charge of our own destiny and our own future. None of the two political parties or two political options, however, would guarantee something like that to us. While the conservative political parties would be traditionally associated with tribunal settings, where they would speak about exploitation of resources found under the ground, and bring everything in the economic language without being bothered that much to speak about human rights or about any level of thinking or consideration within even the constitutional framework, let aside the legislative framework, that would amount for some kind of ongoing questioning, as for example, what define our identity, or what define our protocol of human civilization, of human living, how we can recapitulate as a matter of living as intelligent beings. Let's just be reminded, just 100 years ago, most of the population of the planet has not been even educated at all, and yet the powers would have been held in hands of people that would have been playing various fractions of political powers in various destinations of this planet, which continue to be the case either it is South America or Africa or one good part of Asia. We have people drawn in the previous way of thinking and no one there to provide hand to bring them out of such a profound misconception about basic ways in how someone is supposed to organize their societies. But here we have the conservative parties ready to continue to talk about fracking and exploitation. Now, within any kind of social revolution, I would find these such movements in such positions standing on position of prime societies. However, they have been the one that have been very much building and introducing socialism to great an extent as a complete regime, like total centralization of power, and basically occupying a nation or a state for purposes of excavation and exploitation of everything that crawls, walks, exists on that planet. No one alive to stand out there and to say it is time to make some kind of revolution in the way how we are going to bring such political parties forward today. On the other side, Democratic Party, as we all know, it is much more associated to monarchical systems, which although represent some kind of move forward within what I very often want to call imperial heritage houses that have become very much drivers of a civilization and everything that would have been more advanced in a certain period of time, today have become positioned either in category of some kind of rotten children, aiding in some kind of ultra-left movement, and available for various kind of social experimenting, which makes it all today rather as a painful positioning to find these people stuck in their past and not capable to work out for themselves how they are going to get out of the previous and continue to be carriers of history and carriers of more advanced initiative. I have to say that both of the systems are simply obsolete. As much as today we bring a nation rather than tribunal order, a nation rather than monarchy, none of these two political party settings are recognizing actually the real nation protocol. That is one paradox. A nation in substance would introduce what I am today introducing with my work, the civil position from a citizen point of view of how they would perceive their nation and their place within such kind of national frameworking, where it comes to also the way how economy, well, you question also what makes economy and how economy thinks, when you also question how financial systems thinks, without to be swallowed by the previous systems that very often can act as some kind of dark zone, can completely swallow you and you disappear from the earth, especially if you're weaker, if your positions are weaker and you would not have that much of a platform to step up or even to mentally bring yourself with this level of rather comprehensive analysis, which most of the people, to be honest, honestly, cannot devote a lifetime to it, because neither they're inclined to this level of thinking, neither they can find a way how they would find a way how that can work for them and how that can pay for their bills. And that is where most of the people end up being sardines or a ship, because depends on who is going to pay their bills, and who is going to provide for their families. That is where most of the people get stuck. That is why I found important to bring with this level of performance inheritance and entitlement to imperial infrastructure, because we all understand empire today as a civilizational matter, and we all understand civilization as a matter of responsible living, to which I attach my work as a matter of ongoing development. That is why I found monarchy as a better driver than tribunal society. And in that context, I would therefore zoom and further focus on what kind of monarchy protocol, monarchy inheritance I need in order to assist me to deliver this work today. If monarchy cannot assist what we need to do to talk today as a nation, then monarchy cannot assist what we need to do today as a nation. But what's happening in this case scenario is that when a temple dimension, or reincarnation as a matter of temple dimension, happens in a limbo space and deliver the latest answers, and then reconnect with the previous in the most orderly fashion, where no many would have anything to say, and where it is on me remains right to spell out what can and what cannot go forward as a matter of completing my work today, as a work of legislative nature, constitutional nature, recognize importance of keeping national formations today on the basis, on the foundations of our historic heritage, not dropping importance of such words today for the further promotion of national currency, and keeping nations profoundly responsible to continue to deliver qualitative dimension upon which initially such currency has been stated, as none of the previous history would have been done by uneducated men or uneducated women. Although most of them would be sitting on the top of the hierarchy for all of the reasons why someone sits on the top of the hierarchy. That is being educated and suitably mentally responsive to latest challenges and issues. As you are some kind of dummy in a given historic time, what on earth you can provide? Certainly not national integrity and international order. I'm talking about continuation as a civilization, from where we continue, which is a very important question. And that is what I would like to ask today, President of Serbia, and equally the students marching in Serbia that for quite some time are disturbing the national orders, for maybe excusable because their president appeared to be stuck in this kind of chain of the previous orders that continue to see our territories as a basin for exploitation, where we find presidents simply stuck by the previous orders of either tribunal socialism regime or monarchical circles that continue to be extremely active, especially somewhere in USA or Canada territories, which today obviously become very concerned to maintain their way of living, and obviously conveniently find certain states, certain nations, certain presidents, certain students completely stuck, and certain revolutions completely stuck in a limbo space, although they speak about continuation, about living on earth, which need to continue to breed outside of the boundaries of Canada as well. For some people, the world never has been bigger than their nation. Such people today do not step up first and above everyone else. They are certainly going to be responsible for defending their national integrity and identity unless they don't know how to spell any of the words. Unless they cannot bring the latest textbook, when of course then one asks a question suitable to such kind of dimension. Can you please define your national identity as a historic category through the prism of historic heritage. To what nations and countries you relate and in what mode? Made out of circles of appointees or corruption that is existing all the way to our little nations as a paid with little money, with some pocket money, to play some little presidents in some little countries for a big cause of the big 5, 6, or 7. Today they want to keep their way of living while the rest of the planet fall apart and no one is to attend it. I would argue if you sit on the top of the pyramid, then do your work. Then why on earth you just don't do your work? They have fallen asleep. They have completely fallen asleep. Something will need to be provided for that much of a pay slip you get on monthly basis. Something will need to be provided in return. And somehow crumbles under your table, thrown like to a dog's. Yeah, let's talk about national GDP before you define your dog position versus our dog position. Speaking of human rights require also much more comprehensive approach and certainly very strong human rights Supreme Court. If all of these territories today claim that they are rather being occupied, then it is time to ask by whom exactly that would be the case. This is work of stamp. It has been introduced as a work of stamp, and it has been has acquired assistance of such circles. And we might talk about today about negotiation on these circles accepting protocol reincarnation as a matter of recognizing it might happen after 1,000 years. But you have to recognize when it happens that it happened. And that in the meantime you are keepers of the protocol. You have to agree today that you exist when there is no active monarchy, then it has to be declared as passive monarchy. And then when there is a latest reincarnation, you are obliged to define it as, to announce that there is active reincarnation. I have to notice that today tribunal societies via various princesses basically plugged on the monarchy heritage houses and have been used as a channel to prevent realization of reincarnation in the monarchy houses. An example is Princess Catherine, that belonged to strong tribunal orders, and that she just covers up the entire monarchical protocol there. Certainly has provided access to actual monarchy protocol there without nothing of it to be played by the principle of monarchical protocol. That is that we talk about the fact that the monarchy work has been totally here challenged by my work, not by arrival of Princess Catherine and monarchy of England, but by my work. Yet providing tribunal presence in monarchy house of England, that has become now prevented. The protocol, the monarchy protocol is sitting in England has been suffocated by the tribunal presence there and prevented to play by its own roles. Questionable how much the past times would have been responsive to such rather higher moral responsibility. In the previous times, the next king happens when the previous get killed. Today, I have said a million times, we don't need to go that much physical. For quite some time, we don't exist on a physical ground of anything, especially when it comes to orders or to recognizing the next level of the protocols. When the next level in the protocol happens, that should have been recognized instantly, of course, as the nature of a man. And so it is the nature of a man and or a woman worth to confront it each time. There is a reason for it, as big as the size of this earth, and the expectation of human race to continue to be realized by the best of the promises, not by the hidden and obsolete ones. I'm going to announce, therefore, to the entire monarchical circles in USA, especially in USA and Canada, and probably somewhere in South America, nothing less in South America, and nothing less in Europe itself. This is work by a stamp. This is work by a stamp. Message to monarchy protocols. This is a work by a stamp. And I will not accept any arbitrage, higher arbitrage by some kind of tribunal functioning. As the latest active monarchical stamp, I will not accept to be talked above from the above by tribunal orders. I will not accept to be talked above from the above by tribunal society. Monarchies of earth, my verdict for today. On the other side, none of the monarchies today would have right to get empowered by this work, but exactly denied any right to act as a power center. Equal as a new king or queen, stand above the previous. And the previous does not have any kind of legitimate rights to any action, as any action taken or undertaken would be declared illegitimate. I have not been staying here 15 years to empower some obsolete monarchs and to allow them to go on the ground and do whatever they want. In contrary, it would be understood as preventing them to do whatever they want. That's all about. The following is denying the previous, not approving it. I want to make perfect clear today I stand against the entire planet, obviously, when it comes to political powers, as any revolution would exactly happen like that. Bringing the latest answers because, in the name of the many that cannot be bothered, in the name of many that cannot be bothered to think that high, that would not be free to think that high, on behalf of the one that are not capable to think that high. But latest will never approve the previous. Keep that on mind. The both of the political parties and the orders yourself. The previous will never, the latest will never empower the previous. And when I ask, why I have not been given power earlier, it will be yours to answer. So monarchies, it will never happen that someone is going to come out from nowhere and say, oh, just give me a planet, it's all mine. I'm talking planetary reform and blah, blah, blah. It's all mine, and I expect my office, and I expect my assistance. They're going to say, excuse me, and who on earth it is you? So, where is the answer to that question? Have I not answered it enough? Was it not answered enough? How far I really needed to answer it at all? Monarchies, how far I really needed to answer it at all? Or should I ask tribunals for permission to speak to monarchies? As clearly there's a case. There's a big dog sitting in front of the monarchies called government, holding them hostages for a lifetime. Not that they really tried that hard to break through. They were just being given everything they need. What more they would wish for? If you give a bone to a dog, to whatever, some kind of pate to a poodle on regular interval, why on earth they would ask for anything more? It is absurd that someone fall from nowhere and you give them whatever they ask. That is absurd. The real question here it is rather why the protocol does not provide for what has happened here. That will need to be answered today. Ladies and gentlemen, why the protocol doesn't provide for what has happened here.